I think in terms of process, what I find what's tricky to manage is the way that clay, you have to work with clay at the right point for the clay. And although you can speed up drying sometimes, or you can hold it back, it does what it wants to do. And if you've left it too long, or you aren't there to work with it and it wants to be worked with, then that can just ruin a whole project. It can ruin like a set of mugs. If I'm making something more big and sculptural, it can mean that I can't attach the pieces I want to attach. And sometimes life just gets in the way, and you end up with what should have been a set of mugs will be a set of tumblers, because you just haven't been able to get back to it. I could just say that success feels that I feel like I've made when someone buys my work. I could say that's what success feels like, but actually I think that at the point I'm at, having the time to progress my work, if I'm able to make a jump in my work for myself, that feels like success to me more than selling does at the moment. And maybe that will change in the future. But I think that at the moment, having the time and the space to develop a new idea and then carrying that out and it being what I wanted it to be, that's what feels like success right now. Coffee, and also this little tool called a Surform, which is essentially a cheese grater. And if you think that turning pots on the wheel it looks satisfying, then yeah, grating clay is incredibly satisfying. But it's a tool I use all the time in hand building.
I think what I find difficult is a lot of what I'm interested in is producing something that looks sort of quite carefree or sort of random sometimes. So in reality, that's a difficult thing to achieve, to kind of make something look spontaneous when in actual fact, you've sort of been trying to perfect that thing for days or sometimes weeks. You want to be recognised, I think, for what you're doing, and it's kind of essential to be recognised for what you do in order to keep doing it, to kind of have that momentum in a way. Success, I wouldn't kind of quantify it in a financial way at all, but I would say that it is important for me to try and reach an audience and, to be recognised for what I'm doing and putting out there, for people to resonate with that. Yeah, but I guess as long as I can keep making work, I'm okay with that. The main reason that I'm making the work is just because I enjoy doing it, and also it allows me to think in a way that I wouldn't think if I wasn't making art. I would say it's a massive cliche, but A paintbrush, probably. There's not, well, for me, there's not a lot that can kind of like stand in for a paintbrush. I seem to more and more be drawn to painting as a sort of activity, so it'd have to be that, yeah.
I think the most difficult part of my process is the initial detailed drawings. Each print I do comes from a drawing which can take days, which kind of means I often get lost in the work. That's the part I find most difficult. That's a hard question. I think because I'm only just finishing uni, I'm only putting together an idea of what success actually means for me. But for sure, being able to do my work every day and for it to be seen by an audience. For me, that is success at the moment, and I'm sure that will evolve down the line. But right now, success is the small goals. There isn't just one answer to this question, as there are many things I can't do my process without. To start with, pens. They are the beginning of the process, so without them I don't have a drawing. But most importantly, the facilities that allow me to print would have to be the thing I can't live without.